Hi! Happy Friday everyone. Welcome to Watersea Talks. My name is Tokes, and in today's conversation we will be talking about why we fail at parenting. Well, I will share my experience with you and we can learn from each other. So again, leave a comment below and let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's dive in. So why do we fail at parenting? So I have a list of some things that I want to talk about. They're not in priority order, but these were the things that were just obvious to me in regards to where I felt that I had failed to parent my child, or to parent in a certain way that I wanted to. So I'm hoping that you can pick one or two from here that relates to you. So number one for me is the law of relativity. So what is the law of relativity? So we think that we can compare everything in life. We think that we can compare ourselves to our friends. We think that we can compare jobs to other people's jobs in regards to what we earn and what other people earn. And we do this as well as parents. We compare our children to other children. We think that because they're a certain age or the same age, they have same interests even sometimes, they need to act exactly the same way. But we fail our children by comparing them to other children. Because even though we might think that our children have the same interests as other people and should act or behave in a certain way as other children, they shouldn't really, because they're unique. They have their own purpose and they have their own way of doing things. Now, we can mention from a motivational point of view to say that, oh, look at your friend, or look at that person is doing this, but we should never use it as a stage or a stick to compare, because we're not going to get anything from that. And I can tell you that yes, I have compared my children with other people's children, and even used it in conversation towards them to say, oh, look at this person, you know, they're behaving so nicely, why aren't you behaving so nicely? And we shouldn't really do that. We should just, tell them what they've done wrong, attend to what they've done wrong, and not have to compare them to other people, because it demeans them. It demeans who they are, and they feel that they're not good enough. Number two, intentionality. So I remember when I became a parent, or when my kids started to grow up, I was just so aware of how much intention we had to put into everything. Like if I wanted them to learn how to swim, just how much intentional you wanted them to be. If you wanted them to be readers, how much intentional you had to be. You constantly just had to be so consistent that for you to get a certain output, you just have to put so much in to get them to do that. And I remember at a point when I thought my children were of a certain age, I thought it was okay to just leave them to do their own thing, and they were old enough and they had the knowledge and wisdom to be able to do that. But then they wouldn't. I would find them somewhere, doodling away or thinking or playing away, and then I would get upset over it to say, well, why are you doing that, and why haven't you done that? And then unnecessary arguments or unnecessary conversations with them. So we really need to understand what it means to be intentional, which means that the environment, even their friends, the programs that they watch, is constantly kind of boosting that thing about them that we want to be so evident, and so we have to be intentional. So there were times where I wasn't, and obviously it didn't work. And so I think that for us to be successful parents, we need to be adamant on what it means to be intentional. Number three is that, again, like I said, this is in no priority order, is that I really feel like as parents we leave the spirituality of how we should be as humans to the last when our kids are growing up. We feel like our kids should only get in touch with spirituality when they get to a certain age, maybe when they're teenagers, but I really think at that point that's a bit too late. I really feel that we should carry our children along when it comes to our spirituality. As a Christian, my intention is literally to kind of read devotions with my children on a daily basis, even my 4-year-old, to kind of go through the stories, because what we must understand as humans is that our longing for our Creator is exactly the same as our children. So when they start to grow up and they realize there's that gap, there's that longing for the Creator, for God, and they have no relationship, they think about having their peers to fill that gap. They think about having games, binge watching TV to fill that gap. So I feel like the more we're able to actually teach our children or to explain to our children what our own spirituality is and why we follow that kind of spiritual life, I think it would really do our kids a good benefit. Number 4 that I wanted to talk about was tiredness. I'm a culprit when it comes to tiredness. I am shattered pretty much every day. But we need to understand having a work-life balance and making sure that we're not too tired to have conversations with our children, to just have playful conversation with them. I would, I'm not saying you have to, but I would really implore you to have like at least 10 minutes a day. Don't leave it to an hour at the weekend. No, don't do that, because what you're going to miss is that sometimes there are different avenues in the week where our children just feel that they want to speak to us, and if they don't have that avenue, we might really miss useful information. So you try it and just set time. Maybe it's just before bedtime, to say between 7 and 7:15 we get to have a chat before we go to bed. Try it with all your kids. It depends on how many kids you have, because if you have 2 or 3 or 4, it means that that's 10 minutes each, and you might want to do it on different days as well, just to ask them about their day and to say, oh, what did you like doing today, what was so lovely about today. Just random conversation, because our kids really need that. They need to be able to have that voice and that conversation with us. Number 5 works with tiredness, but I think that the reason why I'm separating it, because I feel that we need to focus on that as well, and this is emotional neglect. Now, we tend to focus a lot on our children when they're really doing well at school, academics, sports, those things that really make them shine. But when it comes to emotions, we don't seem to have that conversation in regards to just, again, how they are feeling. So when I'm talking about tiredness and we're tired and making time for our children, I also want to ensure that when you're having that conversation, you're not talking about academics, you're not talking about sports, you're just focusing on just how they feel, how their feelings are, and what's made them happy today, what's made them sad today, what would they like to improve about today, or just different conversations. Again, that's up to you. I can't really give you a list of questions, but that's kind of where I work through with my children, which is what's happened today, what's made you happy, what's made you sad. So if that would help you, then please use that as well. Number 6, I'm gonna say it's food. I know, absolutely food, because I really think that as parents, I think that for me anyway, I think I lacked education when it came to classes of food. Yes, we know there's protein, we know there's carbohydrates, we know there's stuff, but as a Nigerian, what I was predominantly cooking for my kids were just carbohydrates, and we know that when we relax or relate to just one class of food, we know that the impact of it just generally, it just makes you tired, it makes you lethargic, you're just not happy to do anything. Seriously, it does impact, and I feel like as parents, I think that we need to educate our children, we need to educate ourselves in regards to food, how we eat, what classes of food we eat, our food sizes, our food portions. All of these things creates really a robust child in regards to just how they think generally about things, and so we're helping them, because believe me, I was really bad. As an African, I would cook, we cook jollof rice, so I would cook loads of jollof rice over the weekend, and we kind of use that over the week. I would make, pasta. It was just carbohydrates, and then I just had to tell myself, wait a minute, and you don't want your kids going out somewhere and just not having the ability to try other things, because we kind of put them in a box in regards to what kind of food they need to eat. So I really think as parents we need to improve that as well. That's for me anyway. I don't know if that relates to you, if that helps you. So number 7 for me is ego. I know you're wondering, what has ego got to do with parenting? So let's talk about ego. What is the place of our ego? So our ego really is something that compares us to other people, but not just compares us, it helps us to feel triumphant, to feel like we're better than other people. And so as parents, sometimes I think that we can raise children based on our ego, which means that the only reason why we're raising them a certain way is so that we can prove that they're better than other children. And so when we decide to raise our children that way, guess what happens? We actually miss the specific need of the child, because everything we're doing is from our point of view. It is in regards to how we want them to look, how we want them to present themselves. So the characteristics of that child is actually missing, because everything we're doing is just about us, it's not about the child. And so we will fail that child because they will never know who they are. We can never review who they are, because really they're living by just our own standard and not the child's standard. So because our ego is also subtle as well, it's not things that we physically or intentionally think that we want to do, but it becomes just our parenting style. It's all about why my child is better in this than your child, and so that's all we're ever going to do. We're going to put that child into so many things to show that they're better than another child, but that's not the point of parenting, because parenting is really a lot of things, but it's not based on that ego. We need to, remove the ego in parenting. We need to kind of stop it. We need to ask ourselves every time we want our child to do something, is it about us? Is it about the child? Is it about the love for that thing? Or exactly why are we doing it? Or is it for just the Joneses? So we need to ask ourselves that question. So number 8, which is the last one for me, is I think sometimes my lack of patience, in the fact that my children should already know something and therefore they should start to change pretty much rapidly. The moment I've said to them, oh, you've done this wrong and this should never happen this way, and so I expect excuse me, and so I expect that they should literally change immediately, that thing should not have to repeat itself. So let me just say lack of patience in my part as parents. And I think that there's a lot of us out there where we think that when we say something to our children, they need to change. And I look at my life and I remember that I used to come back from school and I just used to walk to my friend's house without telling anybody where I was going, and I used to really get in trouble for this. And I did this quite a couple of times, even though I kept getting in trouble, and I didn't understand why I kept doing it. It was just so fun to come back from school in my school clothes to go and visit a friend, which my mum used to detest. But obviously I didn't learn from it. But I think there came a day when it just kind of clicked to say, oh wow, why are you doing that? Have you done your homework? Have you taken your school clothes off? And those kind of things. So I also think that we should give our children time for the things that we're saying to them to actually sink in, for them to understand it. When we've told them off, at that point when we're angry, we cannot explain it to them. But at a later time, which perhaps is part of the 10-minute conversation in the day, you can then discuss as well, well, what you did today really angered me, and this is why I felt like it angered me. At that point, you're both receptive to have the conversation, deal with the conversation, deal with your hurt, and kind of move on from that. So these are my 8 light points, which I believe allows us as parents to fail sometimes. I know that there's so much more stuff out there, but these were the ones that I thought it was really good to talk about. I'm hoping it's a short video today. I haven't looked at the time yet, but I hope that you enjoy it. So have a lovely weekend, guys. Okay, bye.